This episode of Bacon and Eggs is brought to you by Audible. Audible.com is a great resource for any audiobook needs you might have. They have over 180,000 titles to choose from, and Tyler and I are both longtime users of the service. We get a new book every single month, and we're giving you the opportunity right now to have a free month on us. All you need to do is go to audibletrial.com/eggs and use that promo code, and we will go ahead and get your free month on us. You may think about using it to download Neil Gaiman's book, Norse Mythology. It'll give you a whole background on everything you're about to hear. It's very entertaining, and it's actually a book by one of my favorite authors. So that's my recommendation for this week. Go to audibletrial.com/eggs. You can go ahead and get that free month and get you up and rolling.
Hi, and welcome to Bacon and Eggs. My name's Tyler Carlin.
And I'm Ethan Edgehill.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode.
This is a new podcast we created to be entertainment for your morning commute.
Or your bedtime, or really anything else. But we've known each other for a little over 13 years at this point, and in that time, it's been a goal of ours to never stop being creative together.
Unfortunately, anyway, we grew a little bit more apart when we went to college, and podcasting seemed like a great way for us to rekindle that.
Yeah, so we've kicked around ideas on what to do for years, and I think we finally settled to sticking something we're good at.
Since we met, we've been going to movies together, reading the same books, listening to the same music, and having our in-depth conversations about all of it.
And we used to spend hours in the local bookstore behind the movie theater, going back and forth over the movies that we just saw, not buying books.
Really getting down to the nitty-gritty of the content we take in, and definitely also not drinking Starbucks.
Right, so our goal here is to bring all of that to you listening. We want to do a little bit of review, a little bit of theory, and maybe the occasional hot take, whatever that is.
So thanks for everybody for tuning in and listening.
And we promise this intro is just going to be a one-time thing.
So without further ado, Tyler, what'd you think of Game of Thrones this week?
I'll tell you, Ethan, I didn't watch Game of Thrones. But I'll tell you what I did watch was Thor.
I mean, if you've seen later seasons of Game of Thrones, it's pretty much the same thing. If I'm being honest, yeah.
I've never seen the later
The Frost Giants and the guys from Game of Thrones right now, can't tell them apart. Identical villain got going on there.
Well, maybe identical villain, but not probably the same static sub-characters who are all very clearly one-dimensional, have like their own little shtick. Maybe that is how it is in Game of Thrones. I don't know, I've never watched it.
Are you saying that a Marvel character is one-dimensional? How dare you?
Well, hold on. I think you will see that I believe that this movie actually does an incredible job with character development, taking a static, seemingly character to a very dynamic character with a full range of emotions. But there are many sub-characters in this movie whose role is either like be French and carry a sword, or be fat and eat a lot, or be like a woman who's a badass. And I'll tell you, it got a little boring after a while.
Anyway, real quick, let's run this movie down. When did this come out? Because I don't remember it coming out, because I definitely did not see it in theaters.
Yeah, it was released April 17th, 2011, which was 2,359 days ago as of our recording.
Oh, see, I was busy finishing high school.
Yeah, that was like finals.
Yeah, so that explains a lot. Yeah, I did not actually see this movie till after the Avengers came out, which made it a lot more...
Yeah, this definitely had a huge impact on the Avengers.
Look, I mean, I knew who Thor was, but when they introduced
the Hawkeye cameo,
yeah, they introduced Hawkeye, and I was like, who? Anyway, what did it cost to make a movie like this? All the big action sequences.
$150 million.
That's like $50 million less than Iron Man 2.
Yeah, and I actually think it kind of shows. I don't know if this movie is too ambitious for the special effects we have available to us right now, or if it just didn't have the budget for what it was going for, but I don't think that it'll stand the test of time in terms of special effects.
Yeah, no, they were all right at best.
Yeah.
Did they make money on it though? I mean,
they did. They made 3 times what they put into it, $449.3 million.
Oh, good for them.
Worldwide. Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah, that's $500 million.
Yeah, but that's also a lot less than Iron Man 2. I'm just saying, maybe the old adage of you got to spend money to make money is absolutely true. In that if they just spent another $50 million, they could have made another $200 million.
Well, I mean, that definitely makes sense. But I don't think they could get the budget for another $50 million. Iron Man was like a tried and true character. Thor was like, let's revive Norse mythology in the American Southwest.
So did people like it?
People did like it. It got like a high school D, college C.
Like mid-70s, yeah.
Yeah, 77% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, 76% audience reception on Rotten Tomatoes. So just slightly edged out by critics. And I can see why, being somebody who tends to lean more towards critics, but is young enough to have sort of an audience appreciation for movies. I think that it critically does things a lot better than it does entertain.
I would agree with that.
But Metacritic said screw it. They gave it a 57 out of 100.
That's a
grade.
failing grade. Yeah, that's not great. Although, I mean, it's still above half. Like movies probably don't go to high school.
Right, movies definitely don't go to high school. But Metacritic was not a huge fan. I don't really know how they score things though. So,
anyway, let's dive into what happened in this movie. First of all, something I thought was interesting. I watched this on Amazon Instant Video. I rented it because my lovely girlfriend wanted to watch with me and didn't want to watch a pirated copy on my computer. So understandable.
I did,
but I rented it, and Amazon Instant Video lists this as Thor, starring Natalie Portman.
Isn't that something? She's actually the first one from left to right to appear on the DVD box as well.
Yep. Natalie Portman, which I get it. She's the biggest actor in here at this time.
At this time, maybe, but she also like her claim to fame. This is before Black Swan. So her like claim to fame at this point, as far as I'm concerned, is being Padme, which was like an awful role. So
I mean, she's also been in a lot of movies. She was in V for Vendetta.
She was in V for Vendetta,
which is kind of a huge deal.
It was a huge deal, and that was before this.
Yeah,
I'll give you that.
She's been in a lot of movies since she was a child.
I don't have her IMDb page pulled up.
I mean, that's a good point.
But while watching this, I kept making comparisons to Star Wars and the prequels, and it was hard not to, just because there's a lot of like clear similarities and like uncomfortable sort of romance scenes. I think they're a lot better than they were with Hayden Christensen, but they're still kind of like.
I mean, anything's better than Hayden Christensen. Let's be real here.
Jumper is a masterpiece.
Okay, anything's better than Hayden Christensen in the prequels. Anyway, so we get the scene of the American Southwest. They're in New Mexico, looking up the sky. It's Padme from Star Wars. It's the math guy from Good Will Hunting, and that girl from Two Broke Girls. They're all together.
Did you think it was John Lithgow for like 3 seconds, and then we're like, no, it's
absolutely not. I knew immediately it was Stellan Skarsgård. I've seen Good Will Hunting so many times.
Yeah, but I
don't
know why.
He doesn't even look like John Lithgow.
It looks a little bit like John Lithgow, but it doesn't sound like him. So as soon as he started talking,
he's like, yeah, it's not John Lithgow. John Lithgow's American.
Yeah.
So
but this guy was trying to be American, isn't he?
No, he's Eric Selvig.
Yeah, Eric Selvig in the post credit scene that we're way before getting to has like a Southern American accent.
That's not true.
Not like South American, but like
he
American
sounds like he's from where he's from.
That's what I heard. Maybe I'm crazy.
I think so. I think you might be a little bit ill-informed here. Anyway, so we get this scene. They're looking up at the sky and they're making maps, and really it started out kind of hulky. I'm like, I don't know what you guys are doing. This is not great storytelling.
Hold on. Do not say it started the same as Hulk. The beginning of this movie, I was like, oh my gosh, they're not doing like a credit, like a opening credits / backstory. They're just having names scroll across the screen. They didn't even do like the Marvel flippy page book thing.
That's true. I thought that was kind of strange.
It just went straight into it.
But yeah, we get this scene of they're looking up at the sky, and then obviously Thor's crashing down into the wasteland in New Mexico, which I only knew this because of Iron Man 2. If I had not seen Iron Man 2, I'd be very confused.
I would know no idea what's going on.
Just, and they're running away from it, and then she hits him with the car and yells that thing about I'm not dying for 6 college credits, which made me laugh.
Did she say that? I knew she said something, but I didn't.
Yeah, she driving away and acting all crazy, and Natalie Portman's like, "What are you doing?" She goes, "I'm not dying for 6 college credits."
That's the truth, though. Okay, so yeah, they hit Thor, and then we get kind of like a sort of like a flash sideways.
Flash sideways.
Well, it's not like a flashback, but we get to see sort of the moments in Thor's life that led up to this moment, right?
It's definitely a flashback.
Flashback. You
it
think
starts
it's back
with 965 AD.
Oh, you right.
That's back. That's like significantly back. But we get an actual backstory this time. Like a proper, and I don't even know if I liked it or not. It kind of bothered me a little bit, but it was a full, like, narrated backstory.
There's a lot of backstory.
Yeah, and
a lot of backstory.
We get the whole story of, like, the Frost Giants coming after the poor citizens of Norway in 965, which seems really recent for there to be Frost Giants.
Well,
that was one thing I took an issue. I think they just stuck a random year on it, and I don't know a whole lot about Norse mythology. I know something. I don't know a whole lot about the timeline of Norse mythology. Maybe it was recent, but that just seemed like an out of place kind of thing. But anyway, Frost Giants coming after the citizens of Norway, and there's a cube, and Odin gets stabbed in the eye, and it's not the Tesseract or the Allspark or whatever.
It's the casket.
Yeah,
that's what he calls it.
Yeah. The Allspark. That's Transformers.
The Allspark. I am Optimus Prime.
That would have been a crossover.
Whoa! Optimus Prime fights Thor!
This whole big battle sequence, it's been like 4 movies, and, not 4 movies, 4 minutes into the movie. And
it's a cool battle sequence.
It is a cool battle sequence, but it was a little bit early. For it felt like Lord of the Ringsy, kind of where you get that intro sequence, and like Isildur cuts his hand off and everything. And I was like,
it was like that. Yep.
This is aggressive right away.
Yeah, but it gives you kind of a history to like the battles between the Frost Giants and the Asgardians, and at this point, and I always think it's interesting with these like flashback wars is that all the soldiers seem to be pretty equals, but then in modern day it's like one man can kill like all the Frost Giants except for one of them, and
right,
it's like
right.
What happened here?
Right. And then we go back to Asgard, and it turns out it's Odin telling the story, and now he's got an eye patch because he got stabbed in the eye, and they're painting him to be this like super nice father figure to Thor and Loki, and he's just like, oh, this is the story of history, and one day one of you is going to take over for me. And I'm like, that's not how Odin works. He's like notoriously an asshole. He's the gallows god. His name is Grimnir. Like, he's not just Santa Claus.
He definitely looks like Santa Claus. I like that depiction of him.
I don't. That rubbed my feathers the wrong way.
Yeah, you just said you didn't know a lot about Norse mythology, and now you're like taking offense to
I said I don't know a lot about the timeline of Norse mythology. I know how Odin's supposed to work. He demands people to hang themselves as sacrifice.
I mean, that's he's not going to say that to his children, although we will banish one here in just a little bit.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is like we get some incongruous Odins in here.
I disagree. I think that he stays pretty true to his character. I mean, maybe incongruous to like how he's originally depicted, but I don't know how the Marvel Odin is supposed to be.
I think he's incongruous to his own character. When he does banish Thor, it's real, like, we get Old Testament God there for a minute, and it's just, like, plagues upon your houses. And
oh, no, I totally disagree. I think, like, even when he's talking to 9-year-old Thor, and I think he's 9 years old, we can agree that's 9-year-old Thor and Loki, right?
Yeah, it's young Thor and Loki.
9 years old.
Okay, I mean, you're really hammering this.
He's talking
hammering?
to them.
Get it?
Yeah.
I made a joke.
Yeah.
I made a funny.
He's talking to them, and Thor is like, I will destroy that Frost Giants! And he's swinging his arms almost like he's holding a hammer. I thought that was great attention to detail. And
right, because he didn't have the hammer yet, obviously, because he's not going to be able to wield it.
So, like, Thor is swinging his hand like he's got the hammer in his hand, and he's like, I will destroy the Frost Giants! And then Odin says, like, a good king would never seek out war.
Right.
And he stays true to that throughout, and he's like, you're not going to do that. If you want to be king, that's not how you're going to do it.
Yeah. And then, Thor and Loki are both like, yeah, I'm ready to take over the throne. And Odin's like, you're 5.
9. They're 9.
Oh my God. What is with 9?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure they're 9.
Okay. Whatever. They're little children.
Right. They're
clearly not ready to be kings.
Right.
And then we could have cut to Thor in the future, and he just turns into a cocky jerk.
Yeah. He's like, I'm kind of confused about this. Is they keep talking about Thor and Loki and all of his buddies being like, who led you into the greatest battles there ever were? And like, what battles were you fighting, Thor? Like, the war's over, man. You're like in an era of peace.
I believe there are other wars.
Maybe.
Not just with the Jotun.
The Jotunheim.
Jotunheim is the place.
I know. The Jotun, the Frost Giants.
Yeah.
And then they even mention there's some incontinuity. This is the only major incontinuity I noticed. Was that they were like, it's not like him and his buddies are all like, let's go to Jotunheim and kill the Frost Giants, and then his buddy's like, it's not like going to Earth where they're gonna worship you for a few days.
You just summon some lightning and they worship you like a god.
Right. And then later on in the movie he goes to Earth and he like doesn't know anything about Earth culture or how to treat people.
I don't think he'd been to Earth for a long time.
So?
I think that's
you mean
what
like a long Earth time?
Yeah, long Earth time. Short Thor time, long Earth time.
Maybe long Thor time. I don't know how old this guy is.
Well, I mean, I think yeah, Thor is because he was clearly alive in 965 or whatever.
Was he?
I think so.
I don't
know. Maybe. I think that Thor is probably not like in his 20s. I think he's probably in his hundreds.
Probably.
Yeah.
I would give him that credit.
Yeah.
But they never told me that, so I don't know. And I could look it up.
No, but he is clearly confused about, Earth culture. But he's clearly been to Earth.
Yeah.
Is what I'm getting at. So, like, he
and he knows, like, what Earth is.
Right. And Midgard.
Midgard, right.
But anyway, and he went to Earth as a god and didn't need to really know the culture. He just kind of came down and made storms.
Right. God,
but then
really upsetting people.
he goes to Earth as a man, and it's different. But anyway, they go to Jotunheim, and it does not go well at all.
It goes well for a little while. The flat earthers get a little scene. Jotunheim is a flat plane, as is Asgard, as is apparently Midgard.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah.
But they go there, and it's him and his buddies, and all of his buddies are these super one-dimensional characters, and they're like, he's looking for the frost giants who are hiding because they are cowards, and they find them, and they have this big battle, and it's going pretty well until I think Frenchman gets stabbed, right?
Who's Frenchman?
Frenchman, the guy with the sword.
He's not
and
French.
The great hair. What's he supposed to be?
Not French.
What he's supposed to be like? Oh, I'm fancy, and I carry a rapier, and I can kill frost giants with a
he's not
sword.
French.
Seems French.
He doesn't talk French.
He doesn't talk French. I was almost taken aback. I was like, this man doesn't speak French. He's very clearly French.
Yeah, but I mean, all his friends are supposed to be one-dimensional characters. That's Norse mythology for you. It's like the characters have one aspect. There's one thing they do. Like Thor does thunder. He's the thunder.
Thor does the lightning.
Yeah, he does the storms.
Right. But I mean, Norse mythology is pretty deep. Like Neil Gaiman wrote an entire big old book about it, then recorded an audiobook about it.
So they think they're whipping some butt here, and Thor's just destroying frost giants left and right. The one guy gets stabbed, but like he's gonna be fine. They've got the healing room, so they're fine.
But they almost walk away from the battle before it even starts, and then the frost giant says some like incredibly like really cheesy 80s villain stuff to Thor. He's like, walk away, puny girl, or something like that. Yeah. And it's like, what? And all of this eloquent speech, and like that's what you said to Thor as he's walking away?
Right, exactly. And it gets Thor. It ruffles him. It makes it so that he wants to fight, and that's exactly what the guy was going for.
You won't like Thor when he's angry.
Right, exactly. But that's what you got to work with. So they start this battle, and like Loki kills that dude by making a decoy. That was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, we get to see sort of Loki's powers and how they work, because he clearly doesn't look like a warrior like the rest of his friends.
Well, no, I mean, Loki's the trickster.
Right.
And that was a thing we saw earlier, is like he couldn't fool the gatekeeper, and that was clearly hard for him.
Yeah.
Heimdall was like, don't lie to me, you little thing.
You little punk.
Yeah.
I see past your secrets.
And Loki's just like, oh, ow.
Oh.
This is unfortunate.
I'm low-key upset.
God dang it. Oh, man. That was something. That was something.
Golly jeepers.
But anyway, so yeah, Loki, he kills that dude using a decoy, and they all show their different strengths in battle, and Thor's wrecking face. And then we get a giant dog monster thing. It looks like one of the things from Borderlands.
Skag. It looks like a skag.
Yeah, like a giant skag.
By the way, you can catch Ethan and I on Twitch whenever you tweet at us to get on Twitch. We'll play Borderlands.
Probably.
And you can watch. Probably. We're very busy people, but we'll try.
We're working on
it. Within like 24 hours of you saying that, we will probably play Borderlands.
So we get this big fight, and at the end, they're like trying to get back in the Bifrost, and Heimdall had been like, if your return is going to destroy the realm, the Bifrost will remain closed. And I'm like, that's what the Bifrost is for. It's a bridge. It's supposed to only work for them.
Right,
but, whatever. There's plot holes with the Bifrost. It's a problem.
It's I don't know about a problem, but it's a plot device. But it's the Bifrost Bridge, man. It's the Rainbow Bridge.
Yeah.
The Heimdall will shoot you through a really awful gyroscope to get you to places.
Then, Thor flies through the big monster, which was gross.
Yeah.
But he came out the other side just completely clean. I was like, okay, that's not how that works.
Well, I mean, all of his blood's frozen. That's why it's
But they got
the frost giants.
They got 1,000,000 frost giants coming after him, and Odin comes to save the day on his big lightning horse. And
did you think Odin's horse was gargantuan, or do you think he was standing on like a raised platform?
Probably both.
Because at first I was like, that's an exceptionally large horse.
Yeah.
But then Odin didn't look particularly large or particularly small compared to the horse.
Yeah.
And I was like, is it a big horse, or is he standing on a platform? Little camera tricks.
I think Odin's a big dude, too.
Odin's a big dude, but we've seen him stand next to Thor. He's shorter than Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, but I think he can kind of fudge that one when he needs to talk to the leader, Laufey, of the Frost Giants.
I think is it Lafay? LaFu?
They say it like Laffy.
Laufey.
Laufey.
They say it like Laufey.
Laufey. It's Laufey.
So Odin comes in and he's like, this is the work of a child. And the Frost Giant's like, yeah, well, he just killed a ton of my people, so
he will get what he came for.
Child.
War and death.
Like, right.
That's what that guy says, and it's just really ominous. I'm like, dude, you just whipping out these ominous things left and right, buddy.
I mean, TBH, though, like, Thor did kill a bunch of that guy's men.
Yeah.
You know?
But I mean, like it's probably doing him a service. Like, it's gotta suck to be a Frost Giant, dude. That place looks like it sucks.
They're cold folks.
Compared to Asgard.
They like it cold. Asgard looks sweet.
That looks like it sucks, dude.
Yeah.
I'm not about that. I don't want to live there. That's not a place I want to go. Jotunheim, not happening.
I like Midgard. It's a good.
Yeah, take a nice vacation to Jotunheim.
Oh, God.
It just seems like a miserable place. Anyway.
I bet they have nice bathhouses.
So Laufey is just kind of like, yeah, truce is off, buddy. We done. You gonna get war. It's time.
And then he doesn't really bring the war for like a lot of movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's all good. This happens. He's got to prepare, man. He's got to build more Frost Giants.
No, I can see them. He's got an army right there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they were just ready to go too. They were like prepared. But
anyway, I'm ready to kill Thor.
Anyway, we got all this, and then they go back. They go back to the Bifrost, and Odin's pissed. I mean, he's mad. And rightfully so, but he's pissed. He's not happy with what's going on with Thor. He's like, Thor, what is the one thing I've been telling you literally your whole life is stop seeking out war. It's not difficult. Right. But so he banishes Thor, throws him into the Bifrost, and just says like,
accelerator.
Yeah, I'm gonna banish you. And then he whispers to the hammer, and he's just like, whomsoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. I'm like, he just whispering sweet nothings to a hammer, and the hammer's like, got it, boss. Sup.
Tim the Toolman Taylor.
And he just throws the hammer into the void, which, like, it goes to, like, 20 feet away from where they found Thor. He's not trying very hard.
I hear you.
I guess maybe the hammer seeks him out because the hammer knows, like, he is still worthy. Like, it's still Thor's hammer. The hammer's like, I mean, I see what you're saying, but, like, I'm still going to follow my boy.
Do you think up until that moment anyone could wield the hammer, but now only Thor can?
I think, yeah, that was the thing. Is it like...
Because...
Thor was trusted with Mjolnir, is what it sounded like.
But it could have been wielded by anybody.
Right, I think that was the thing.
Okay.
I believe so.
Because up until that moment, up until the end of the movie, Thor hadn't done anything, worthy of Mjolnir.
Right. Well, I mean, that was obviously a new thing, is because the little insignia came up on it.
Right.
But I don't know, it's a plot device. They had to make it so he couldn't just use the hammer all willy-nilly as soon as he finds it.
Yeah, but they had to have that moment.
Right.
Introduce Hawkeye and all that.
But anyway, so we're getting ahead of ourselves. So Thor lands on Earth, and they, we're back to where we started, where they find Thor, where they hit him with a car. And, Kat Dennings' character's literally just there to, like, flirt with Thor and then tase him.
I feel like you don't like Kat Dennings' character in this movie, and you're wrong about that.
No, she's fine. It's just at this point she does not possess any merit whatsoever, other than saying a funny thing about college credit.
She's Miss Exposition is what she is in this movie.
Well, she just makes a lot of like lewd comments about Thor like immediately, and like you just find this dude in the middle of a forest, and you're just like, oh man, he's kind of hot though.
Middle of a forest, like a jungle, because it sounds like.
I mean, there were definitely trees
in that desert.
Weren't there trees?
No,
pretty sure there were trees.
No trees.
Well, whatever. It looked like trees. I don't know. It was dark.
It's kind of like when people say that like Simba was the king of the jungle, but he was the king of the desert plains of Africa.
Anyway, well, not the desert. He was the king of the plains. There's a big difference between the desert and the plains in Africa.
Whatever. He wasn't king of the jungle.
Anyway.
Literally, he went to the jungle to do nothing.
This is true.
No worries for the rest of his days.
This is true. So what is her name? Darcy tases Thor, and that works because he's immortal now. And they drive him off, and we see the hammer falling to Earth. And then we get like 5 more fight scenes of Thor because every time he wakes up, he just wants to wreck some people. And it's just like, how dare you put your hands on the son of Odin? And it's just like murking nurses left and right.
I think it's a little interesting he doesn't quite realize what's going on. Like, Odin just banished you to Midgard. You know what Midgard is. You should, be able to interact with these people. Did he say
he banished him to Midgard, or did he just say he banished him? I don't think he knows where he was.
I don't think he exactly knows where he is, but I think
he was like, what realm is this?
He knows he's in one of the 9 realms.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he thinks he's in Jotunheim.
Yeah, he can rule out too. He's not in Asgard. He's not in Jotunheim.
Right, and, this place reminds me a lot of Midgard.
Which, I mean, he says later on that, like, one of the 9 realms is Anaheim, I'm pretty sure. So he could have no idea, because Anaheim is a place in California.
but he was not in California.
No.
He was in New Mexico.
New Mexico. Land of Enchantment.
Land of Enchantment.
That's we figured that out last week. Anyway, so you get like 5 fight scenes in the hospital, and every time he wakes up, he wants to destroy people, and finally they like sedate him because wow, drugs still stronger than Thor.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because this is America.
Yeah, we have drugs. This is what we do here. You got lightning, we got drugs.
Yep. Drugs probably kill more people than lightning every year.
I would guarantee drugs kill more people than lightning every year. I would guarantee more people accidentally overdose on like Xanax that they're taking for uses of Xanax.
But on the flip side of things, how many people does lightning save each year?
Relatively few, I would imagine. Probably less than it kills.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, like, how
I'm trying to
is somebody,
imagine a situation where somebody is saved by lightning.
I mean, you could be like running from a bull,
That's what
and
I
that
was
bull is struck by
thinking,
lightning.
like they're running from something and that something gets struck by lightning.
Like, that's about the only thing I can think of. But
Yeah.
so, I mean, drugs, are they better than lightning?
Yes.
Drugs.
Drugs.
Better than lightning.
This episode is brought to you by drugs. 100% better than lightning.
Although more deadly than. But not as deadly as cars, and cars are better than both lightning and drugs.
Cars are like impervious to lightning
Cars are the best place to be when there's lightning.
because they're designed to like accept a lightning strike.
So, the drug Thor, and they knock him back out, and he eventually wakes up in restraints that are useful for like 3 seconds.
And he gets out of them and then walks outside and gets hit again by Jane.
Natalie Portman.
And Natalie
Jane.
Portman. Again, for the second time, and I had to pause the movie because I was laughing so hard.
Yeah, that was good. She's like, I promise I'm not doing this on purpose.
She just they're sitting there like, what, are we gonna look all over New Mexico? Bam!
So they hit him, and then they get him to, I guess, join their quest or whatever. I forget exactly what happened.
They take him back
next.
to her place, and
Oh, her place, very cool. Not only does she live in an Airstream, which is like an $80,000 mobile home, but she also lives in an old dealership that she just drives her
that's
other
cool.
mobile home into.
That's cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah, that's tight. I was like, this is a cool place to live and have a lab, and it's got lots of natural light and
At a showroom.
right,
and, like,
exactly. And she gives him her ex-boyfriend's clothes,
which have like a hi, my name is
Yeah.
Dr. Barry White, MD, or whatever.
Yeah, and which like good for her, man. Dating a guy that Thor's clothes or what Thor can fit in his clothes.
Ooh, and have we? I don't think we have just yet. Do we see shirtless Thor at this point?
Oh yeah.
Yes, dude is in much better shape than any of the other superheroes we've seen
Yep.
up to this point.
Yep, definitely.
And even when we see Chris Evans in Captain America in his like, exposed state, like Chris Hemsworth looks like he's supposed to look this way. Chris Evans looks like he worked really hard to look this way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Chris Hemsworth's a big dude.
He's a big guy.
Yeah.
He's probably played baseball if he wanted to.
As Kat Dennings says, he's pretty cut.
He's pretty cut for a homeless guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's clearly enamored. They both are.
Correct. So Kat Denning and Natalie Portman keep looking at Thor. He finally gets some clothes on.
And he goes, my mortal form has grown weary. I need sustenance.
Yeah, I think he messed up that line because there's no way he wasn't supposed to say I require sustenance, but whatever. Because I need just sounds so informal.
Yeah. Yeah.
For
And
like everything else he set up to that point.
so we cut to this scene of them in the diner, and Darcy says this great line of like, I don't know how somebody can eat a whole box of Pop-Tarts and still be hungry.
And he's eating and eating, and then he drinks the coffee.
He throws the coffee on the ground.
I'll have another. And then he hears the guys walk in, and while this is all happening, we've been kind of getting cuts, like flash sideways to out in the desert where they find Mjolnir,
Right,
and they're trying to
Having a
pull it out of
barbecue,
the ground.
trying to pull it out of the ground.
Looks like a good time.
And
Looks like a real good
it destroys Stan Lee's truck.
Destroys Stanley's truck, and he's like, "Did I get it?" No, you didn't.
No,
Stan.
you didn't. It's immovable. It weighs
immovable,
more
yeah.
than the world.
Yep. Well, there's discussions on that. I really don't want to get into what Thor's hammer weighs because I think there was like a viral Tumblr post that was like, it weighs a bajillion neutron stars.
Yeah.
And if that was the case, then when he said it on Loki's chest, Loki would have just died.
Nobody knows how this thing works. It works exactly as well as Marvel needs it to work.
Exactly.
And
that's exactly how I want it to.
Not a rabbit hole I want to fall down.
So, people are pulling it out of the ground, and then a couple of those guys show up at the diner where everybody is, and they're
Where
like,
Thor's
yeah,
just throwing coffee on the ground.
Right, and he's like 50 miles west of here. And I'm like, good lord, 50 miles. Golly.
Well,
You
they
drove 50
do live in
miles
the
for this?
desert.
I guess. In a population of like 2,800 because Marvel didn't want to blow up a normal sized city.
Yeah, they wanted to create a small city for them to murder.
Right.
So Thor walks out in the street chasing after it, and she's like, "Where are you going?" He goes, 50 miles west of here.
Yeah.
Just
I
like
that he knows what
obviously.
miles are. He just yeah.
Well,
okay.
I mean, he does speak perfect English,
That's true.
despite being a Norse god. So something's going on there.
I mean, the Rainbow Bridge point to America is in New Mexico. So
Right, I definitely have a note about that later on. Like, why does the Bifrost keep dropping people off in BFE, New Mexico?
Yeah, because like that doesn't make any sense. Didn't they land in Norway last time? Like, doesn't seem like they can really aim this thing.
I mean, clearly it does though, because they, everybody gets to the same place. Maybe, hang on, let me throw some theory in here.
Okay.
It goes to the same point, but Earth moves.
But Earth.
You know what I mean? Like in the rotation.
Yeah, because she says that it's like perfectly calculable as to where these things are going to happen, which I also think is a little unusual because it seems like Heimdall is just real willy-nilly about when and where he throws people. But
I mean, we don't speak ill of Idris Elba here in this household, sir.
Man looks great with some color contacts. I can
Oh
tell
my,
you
that was creepy. Terrifying.
Big fan.
Terrifying.
Big fan.
Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Anyway, so we go back to back to Asgard, and they're blaming Loki for bringing the Frost Giants in, which I think is probably a pretty good call.
Yeah, they're blaming
Definitely,
Loki because
definitely his fault. It's 100% his fault.
you just say that because he's a frost giant.
I mean, no, I just think that this whole thing. It's not random. There's no way that just 3 Frost Giants were like, we're going to pick today of all days, random time to go ahead and attack Asgard.
Oh, no, it's not random at all. They Loki says that he shows them in, and even in later movies, Loki shows that there are ways out of in and out of the 9 realms without going through Heimdall.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So, they're
it's
blaming
definitely
Loki.
not
They're
random.
definitely onto something. And so then, Loki just, yells Odin to death, pretty much. He goes into the Odin sleep, which you want to talk about a plot device. But anyway... Odin, Loki just yells at Odin and he passes out and never wakes up.
Great acting though on the part of Tom Hiddleston here.
Oh yeah, and this is where the GIF comes, the "tell me" GIF.
Yep.
I was like, every time we watch one of these movies, I'm like, this is where the GIF comes from.
There's the GIF. Are you ever watching a movie? This happens to me all the time, and you're like, they're just trying to get a GIF out of this. They're going for a meme right here, and sometimes it pan out and sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes you realize you're watching a movie 30 years ago.
Right. But if you watch Deadpool.
Oh yeah,
it's every other scene. They'll leave the camera on somebody a little bit longer so you can see them saying the comic line instead of
cutting to the reaction. Yeah.
Right, and then getting through the reaction so that you can see the whole thing. It's you are doing this so that we will turn your movie into a viral GIF.
Right, exactly. I would agree with that. That definitely is a thing these days. I mean, we did have a movie called the Emoji Movie. Anyway, so we get back to Earth. And Thor's still just going off on this crazy quest, and he's going after Mjolnir, and this is where Kat Dennings starts calling it Mew Mew.
I thought that there was more jokes about how she could not pronounce Mjolnir.
I did too. I remember there being more. I think we watched an edited version.
Must have.
I think they've taken it out in the past.
I don't know, but I definitely remember that more.
So Thor goes off into the desert. He's trying to, go... Well, not into the desert because he has a great scene here in a minute, but he goes somewhere else, and they're headed back, and because the Norse scientist doesn't think Thor's real, ironically enough. He's just these are the stories I grew up with. He's obviously crazy, which is not true. But so they go off, and Jane sees S.H.I.E.L.D. stealing all her stuff, and she gets back to her place, and Phil Coulson's just nope, our stuff now. Bye. Sorry.
Yeah, which is weird. You'd think that S.H.I.E.L.D. would be oh, you're the leading scientist on all of this.
Nope, they're
You're coming with us.
We're taking this stuff. You can stay behind. We're taking this stuff. And she's like, what? You guys we're going to sue you and everything? And Phil Coulson goes, sorry, Miss Foster. We're the good guys.
And
no, you're not.
And actually, I know that down the line we are, kind of the veil is lifted that S.H.I.E.L.D. is the bad guys, but Phil Coulson is a good guy.
Right.
He stays true to being a good guy
until he dies.
And he believes. Sure. Yeah, he dies. Sure.
He dies.
We'll go with that.
No, we're not talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. here on this podcast. It's not a thing that's happening. We are going with the canon of the Marvel movies. MCU, he dies.
S.H.I.E.L.D. is canon.
Yeah, MCU, he dies.
Whatever. He dies in Avengers. But he stays true to be a good guy throughout the thing. But you're kind of led to believe that maybe he's not such a good dude. Because things keep kind of turning up in favor of S.H.I.E.L.D. being the good guys and stuff.
We get back to Asgard again because it's just cutting back and forth and back and forth and back and forth this part of the movie, and Loki is sitting on the throne in the hat. Got the hat. Don't know where the hat came from, but he's got it now. And
I like the hat.
I do.
I think he just forms it.
I guess, probably. And he has declared himself king, and he makes all Thor's friends bow to him, and like, this is not going well.
Yeah, and all of his friends, like, it sounds like Thor and Loki grew up and they were all buddy and like, what's up, bro? Yeah.
And they seem shocked that Loki's acting like this.
Yeah, they seem a little hashtag shook.
Yeah, which, like, I mean,
hashtag not
you've
woke.
always said, like, he has an air for mischief. I'm like, you probably shouldn't trust him.
But it seems like, he wouldn't betray us is kind of the way that they think of it. And of course, here we are, betrayed.
Couldn't have seen that one coming. But again, I could see that one coming because I saw the Avengers before I saw this.
But we get a lot of character development.
We do. Loki's a great character.
And we've been worried about, villains with motivate, or you at least have been worried about villains with motivations. And I think we finally got one with a lot of Loki's great. Smack you in the face motivation.
Yep. I think I've been rightfully worried about villains with motivation.
Literally, Loki is like exactly the same as Justin Hammer. He's like, I am inferior to this person, and the world likes him better, and I just want to prove myself to our quote-unquote parents, the U.S. military.
For those of you listening to what happened 45 minutes ago, I never pulled Justin Hammer's motivation into account. I pulled Whiplash's Ivan Vanko.
Ooh, I can make the exact same argument here. Whiplash is like, Howard Stark, our father, the father figure to you and sort of an adopted father to me because my dad worked with him. He never cared what my dad had to do, and he banished him, and
right, which we found out.
My family, and I will take that out on you.
Which we found out.
It's in the opening credits.
It's not in the opening credits. It is an hour and 15 minutes. I'm not reading. That's the thing, is I refuse to be suckered into that. I don't want to have to read the newspapers in the back to understand the villain motivation.
Ugh. Oh my gosh. They're not in the back. They're like zoomed in on.
Whatever. It's the credits. You can't keep putting stuff in the credits
that I need to read in the same font as the credits.
I agree with you. Yes. Anyway, I understand why Loki is mad at Thor. I get it. He's a great villain. No problems. Moving on. Thor's got this great scene back on Earth where he walks into a pet store and yells, "I need a horse."
And the guy's like, we don't have horses.
The guy's like, we don't have horses. We have cats, dogs, like birds, hamsters. He just goes, give me one of those big enough to ride.
I think it's so funny that this town of 2,000 people has like an elaborate pet store. Like with like a bunch of dogs, a bunch of cats, and a bunch of birds.
Yeah, you'd think they would also have horses. It's the desert.
Oh yeah. Horses probably wouldn't be a bad
It's the
thing.
Wild West, dude. This is still a thing.
The wild West.
Anyway, so Natalie Portman drives up before the clerk has to answer that question. And
she's like,
hey, you still want to ride?
And she gives him a ride.
And she's obviously in love with him. It's very clear. Jane's attraction to Thor is palpable. Palpable. You can palp it.
I've always felt like the word palpable reminds me of pulp and orange juice. Probably because they're very similar words, just a different vowel. And that's what I'm thinking about right now, is that Jane's love is like orange juice pulp.
Yeah, and that you can feel it when you probably shouldn't.
I mean, young me would have said correct. You don't want to feel the orange pulp, but now old me is like pulp and orange juice lets you know it's real orange juice.
I'm disturbed. I'm shook right now. I don't know if we can continue this podcast. I don't know if we can be friends. If I ever come to your house and visit you and you serve me pulp, I'm gonna take a strainer. I'm gonna strain your orange juice and throw the pulp at you in a disgusting wet ball of orange goop.
Do you buy orange juice?
No. I don't have that kind of money.
Orange juice isn't that expensive.
Yeah, but it goes bad.
I'm just saying that I think a more refined man drinks his orange juice with pulp.
I think a more refined man drinks his orange juice with champagne.
What about pulpy?
I'm gonna get that on. Oh, if I had a pulpy mimosa, we got a problem.
Pulpy mimosa.
This podcast is brought to you by Pulpy Mimosas. Disgusting since 2017.
The worst thing you could have at brunch.
I don't know, man. I had a Bloody Mary one time that was literally 95% vodka.
That's the wrong way to do a Bloody Mary. I really like, you could just give me all the ingredients like tomato juice and celery and hot sauce and just nix the vodka, and I'm like, it's a pretty good drink.
But that's the point of the breakfast drink. It's like it should still be good whether it's got alcohol in it or not.
Well, like champagne, delicious without orange juice.
Yeah, exactly. Because
orange juice, delicious without champagne, but only with pulp.
I hate you so much. Anyway, yeah, I had a Bloody
Milk with pulp is a no-go.
This podcast is brought to you by Milk with Pulp.
Even, you know the best thing about doing a podcast is?
What?
I can do it in my pajamas.
Are you doing it in your pajamas right now?
I'm in my pajamas right now.
I'm wearing a t-shirt and some sweatshorts. So then we get a cut back to Asgard, and we've got Odin, who is stuck in Odin's sleep, which, like I said earlier, that feels like a plot device. That they're, just Odin has to go charge his batteries every now and then. So he's not available.
Who do we know that has to do that?
Iron Man.
Iron Man. Charges battery.
But like this takes a lot longer. Tony can just put a new thing in.
Put a new palladium plate in, and this is gonna take like a significant amount.
Yeah,
of
they're saying like
that can save
he
Thor,
may never come out of it.
Right. Which poor Odin, but.
And like Mrs. Odin over here is trying real hard to like make Loki feel like they're a family, and it's still just not really getting to me on this. Like Odin's not a good guy in the mythology at all. He's like a vengeful, violent god.
I mean, this is also, you have to understand, not the Norse mythology, but the Marvel version of the Norse mythology.
Right, but like Odin's not Santa Claus. Just saying. I'm just gonna keep coming back to that. Like Mrs. Odin over here is sitting here being like, and I know her name. Her name is Frigga, but I'm gonna keep calling her Mrs. Odin.
Mrs. Allfather.
Yeah, the All Mother. No, her name is Frigga. Friday is named after her.
I guess because we have Thor's Day, which is currently on a Sunday. But
it was Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday were Odin's Day, Thor's Day, and Frigga's Day. But Loki is still kind of upset about Odin, and he wants to prove that he could be a good king. And even though he put Odin into Odin's sleep, I'm pretty sure he just yelled him into it and stressed him out to the point where he needed to go to bed for a while. But Odin is stuck at Odin's sleep. We got Loki trying to be king, and Thor's friends are not happy about it, and Thor has no idea what's going on.
Correct. Thor is out still in Midgard, doing his Midgard thing.
He is trying to get the hammer back.
Right, and we get this great scene where now Thor is at the site of the hammer. I think that's where we are now.
Yeah.
And he, gives his jacket, which is, I guess, Natalie Portman's ex-boyfriend's jacket, back to Natalie Portman to wear, because he's like, as soon as I get close to this hammer, it's going to rain a lot.
Yeah.
And it does. And he goes and he just fights his way through this awesome thing. And of course, there's like a hallway fight scene, but it's not as cool as the one with Scarlett Johansson in the last movie or the one from the last episode of Daredevil season 1. But it's still pretty cool. And he fights through all these people with, his punchy fists. Whoopah, whoopah. And then while he's doing that, Agent Coulson introduces us to everyone's favorite Marvel archer, Hawkeye.
Clint Barton.
Who I think they could develop more, but I don't think they can afford. I think they can't. I think they have more money than God, but I don't think they want to pay Jeremy Renner to develop that character enough. And I think that Jeremy Renner doesn't want to work more hours than he needs to make the paycheck he's making. So we get a couple hours or a couple minutes of Hawkeye.
He has some great lines, though.
I think he does have some great lines.
Do you want me to slow him down, or are you sending more guys in for him to beat up?
And then he's like, "You better make a call soon because I'm cheering."
Starting
for him.
to root for this guy.
Yeah.
And Hawkeye doesn't even fire a single shot. We still don't know anything about Hawkeye except that he uses bows.
Yeah, they're like, we need somebody up top with a gun.
Yep.
And then they show Hawkeye grabbing a bow, and you're like,
it's Hawkeye. And I would not have known that unless I saw the Avengers first.
I don't think I knew what Hawkeye was, and I don't think that I was familiar enough with superhero archers to know that was not the Green Arrow. I don't think that I knew that was DC versus Marvel. You don't want to in 2007?
Yeah, 2011.
2011. I keep saying this out. I'm thinking about taquitos. Injustice in America, taquitos are still $5 for $4. Anyway,
but we get Thor, and Thor can't lift the hammer. Can you imagine how he feels at this moment?
No, because I've never not been able to pick up a hammer. There's never been a hammer I couldn't lift.
Right, like he can't pick it up. He was so cocky. He's like, about to pick this thing up, and it's gonna rain. We got lightning in here, and he tries to pick it up. And he's just like, what?
And he looks so jacked trying to pick it up,
and then he just falls on the ground and cries, and S.H.I.E.L.D. takes him away, and now he's property of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yep, and then I think there's probably another flashback sideways forward to Jotunheim, or to Asgard, but I don't remember what happens. And then we've got Thor.
Is getting interrogated by Coulson.
Interrogation room by
Coulson. Who's like, we're just learning to fight like that. Afghanistan, Pakistan, South Africa. Thor's just like, I don't know what these places are.
Well, Thor's like, he just doesn't respond. But like Coulson, I think, like if you know anything about the canon of Coulson, he deals with this stuff all the time. And he should have been like, oh, you came through a wormhole. I watched it happen on that screen right there. And you're clearly from a different dimension.
Yeah.
So what dimension are you from? What do you want from Earth?
Yeah. But I thought this was really weird that he thinks he's just like a mercenary.
Yeah, I didn't
thought that was strange. And then Loki shows up in like a suit and tells Thor that Odin's dead, which is not true, and that he's exiled because they have permanently because they have a truce, which is also not true.
Right. He's just full of deception.
Right, and Loki tries to go lift the hammer, and Loki can't lift it either.
What do you think of Loki trying to lift the hammer? What do you think he was trying to do?
He was trying to pick the hammer up. I don't think he heard the, like, only who is worthy can possess the power of Thor.
I think he does think that, and he thinks he's not worthy. He's reaffirming his belief that, like I think from Loki's perspective, when Thor is banished, now he is elevated in his father's eyes to Thor's status. So he's trying to pick the hammer up because he thinks, I am now Odin's star child.
He thinks it's his turn.
And then when he can't pick it up, basically what he's saying is, okay, so Odin does not think that of me. He does not think me worthy of how he viewed Thor. Right. And he's got to kind of have this identity crisis where, like, I think Odin loves them both equally, but loves them differently. Right. And, like Loki can't grasp
because Loki's a frost giant.
Right.
I don't know if we said that or not, but, like, Loki was... They tell us that Loki was taken from Jotunheim.
Yeah. I don't know why, in my memory of this movie, he was, like, half frost giant. No, he's, like,
full-blooded frost giant.
Full-blooded frost giant.
So after that, Loki goes to Jotunheim and makes a deal with the king to bring Jotunheim back to his former glory. And he tells Heimdall that Heimdall can't let anybody pack across the Bifrost. So he's just shut everything off. He's messing everything up.
Right.
And then we get a scene of Thor, and Thor is, like, explaining to Natalie Portman how the worlds work. And again, he says one of the realms is called Anaheim, which I thought was interesting.
Back it up. Thor gets out of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s custody through the most, like, what? Like, we need a way to get Thor out of here. Let's just write him out of this section.
Oh yeah,
like, what's his face?
Eric Selvig walks in and it's just like, yeah, he's a physicist.
He's our buddy. Yeah, and then they run his background and they're like, no, it's not, and then they just let him go.
Yeah. They know. I think they know at this point.
They know that he's Thor.
They know something's up, and I think they're basically trying to follow and figure out what's up.
Then there's a great scene in a bar where Thor drinks Budweiser.
Yeah.
Okay. And Eric Selvig gets hammered, and they take him back, and then he drops him off, and he's kind of had that camaraderie that I needed to have with Selvig, so that Selvig would accept him, so that he could stay around.
Right.
And he has a conversation with Natalie Portman about there's 9 realms.
Yep, and that was cool. It explained the whole realms thing. Again, one of them called Anaheim. I think that's kind of weird, but Anaheim's a place in California, not a realm.
We also have 3 days named after these people, so I don't know what you
I think it's more than 3 days. I think it's most of the days.
Is it?
I might be wrong about that. I know it's at least 3 days. I think Saturday's named after Saturn.
You could be right about that. Sunday, maybe the sun.
Yeah, Monday is Moon Day.
Tuesday is the second day of the week, the work week.
Yep, that's it. Pretty much. There we go. That's the whole week, guys. So we get back to Thor's friends in Asgard, and they are trying to go after Thor, trying to go to Midgard and find him. And they go up to the gatekeeper thing, and they're going to have to, like, trick him. No, not even. No, hang on. I'm wrong about this. They are talking about it in a room somewhere else. And as soon as they start talking about it, a guard shows up and is like, Heimdall requests your attendance.
Yep.
Because he knows what's going on. He can see everything. And he goes up there. He's got the great line, and he's like, you guys are trying to commit treason, disobey our king to bring Thor back? They're like, yes. And he goes, good. It's like, not expecting that, but okay.
And then he walks away.
And he walks away. He's like, I can't open the Bifrost. My sword is stuck there, but...
Yeah, I think that's kind of a cop-out. I think that Heimdall's sworn to protect the realms and be the Vision. Like, I don't think that he could, like, has the capacity to walk away.
I think he does. Everybody clearly has their own volition here.
Clearly he did do that.
I think that's part of any kind of, like, what am I looking for? Polytheistic religion is, like, all the gods have their own ideas. They have their own abilities.
Right.
Like, even in Greek mythology and everything, like, Zeus was...
Is there liquid in your cheeks right now?
No, I'm not. What? I just took a sip of water.
And then you kept the
No, I didn't. I didn't, actually, that time. I was very conscious not to.
I think in Greek mythology... Can you hear the liquid in my cheeks?
They go through the Bifrost, and again, the Bifrost just dumps them off in BFE, New Mexico. Doesn't seem like a very frosty place for them to, drop them off, but whatever. I don't know how this thing works. The Rainbow Bridge.
Yeah, me neither.
Rainbow Road.
Rainbow Bridge.
And what happens then? Oh, yeah, okay. So they're walking through the street in full armor, like full Norse armor, and Selvig's just sitting there trying to, like, reason out the fact that Thor is what he says he is and everything. And he's like, he's not believing him, and then everybody else shows up, and he's just like, oh.
Okay.
And he drops the coffee cup, just like, dang.
Everybody drops the coffee cup.
So we got 4, demigods?
Heroes,
Titans?
I don't know. No, Titan.
I don't know. Demigods. Just regular demiguys.
Just an ordinary demiguy.
And meanwhile, Loki is sending down and I actually have a note sitting here, which becomes funnier later as I was reading the movie. I had a note written that says, Loki's sending the Norse Iron Man to New Mexico.
That's exactly what he's doing. He's sending the Destroyer.
Right, which I didn't know the name at this point. But then literally in the next scene, the thing lands, and Coulson's like, is that one of Stark's? I don't know. He never tells me anything. And I was just like,
right.
You and me, Coulson, we made the same joke. So
same joke here. Yeah. So then the destroyer comes down, and there's an okay fight scene.
It's a big old fight scene where it lasts like 5 minutes, and they destroy the whole town.
Yeah, and
Thor has to prove himself, so he stands up to the destroyer and is just like, "No, you are going to die. I am Thor," and whatever. And the destroyer,
I am Thor, and my act of heroism shall be that I will sacrifice myself for these people whom do not deserve our sacrifice.
So the destroyer swats him away like a fly, and he's pretty much dead. And Jane's sitting there chilling. She's just like, "Oh my God, Thor, you're dead. I loved you so much. Let me give you CPR and whatever." And then the hammer just flies away and flies all the way over to Thor, and there's a scene where it's just his arm grabbing the hammer, and that was cool. And then there was lightning.
And then there was an opportunity for an Iron Man-esque suiting up, 60 FPS beautifulness, and it's mostly just light, and you can't see really
it wasn't
going on.
It wasn't great.
It wasn't
so Thor destroys the robot and just knocks it out of the park really easily.
I wouldn't say really easily. He's got some fight.
He just crushes its face.
Yeah, he crushes its face with its own laser beams.
Yeah, and he destroys the robot.
Dr. Sprog!
Everybody's happy. Coulson realizes what's going on now, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna go back to Asgard." And Coulson's just like, excuse me.
We need to
debrief you." And it's like, Coulson, stop.
Agent.
So they go over to the Bifrost thing, and Idris Elba, who's been frozen, is just manages to unfreeze himself and destroys the two frost giants standing there watching him, and goes and turns the Bifrost back on, and they get back to Asgard, all the Asgardians.
And then there's a lot more movie left.
Yeah, and I thought this was going to be the end, but it wasn't, because first of all, Thor and Jane have their kiss, and they make her this important love interest and everything. So Loki brings the frost giants to Asgard just to destroy them. I thought that was interesting. I didn't really understand there. I thought he was it just seemed unnecessary.
No, it doesn't. He's doing exactly what Thor was doing, and he wants to be like Thor, in that he wants to bring the frost giants there without anybody knowing that it was him bringing them there, so that he could defeat them and would be respected.
Yeah, so he's trying to look good for Frigga and Odin and all that, who can apparently see what's going on. So anyway, Laufey doesn't get his opportunity to kill Odin. Loki kills him. And then we get a big Thor-Loki battle.
Yes. And it looks like Loki's got the upper hand here for a good
part. Right, and then eventually Thor gets the upper hand and just leaves the hammer on top of Loki.
Right, and you kind of have to be paying attention the whole movie to realize what's going on. Where when they open the Bifrost to Jotunheim, if you keep it open, it
destroys the planet,
Destroys the realm. It's not just planet, it's a realm.
Yeah.
So, it's just destroying this realm, which is a minor deal. I actually think it's pretty cool that they only give you that brief quip of how it works.
But so Thor doesn't want Jotunheim to get destroyed because he finally realizes what Odin's talking about, and the good king wouldn't just destroy that, so he breaks the Bifrost.
Yeah.
Which means he can't go back to Midgard.
Right.
Which is a big step. I mean, he does eventually, but currently we think that he can't go back. So he's sad, and Loki gets thrown into the void.
Which also not really.
And then
so
Jane is also sad because the Bifrost closes on her end too, and everything is bad.
Right, and there's this moment where Odin and Thor can save Loki, and Loki does not want to be saved by them, so he elects to fall to his demise.
Yeah, theoretically. And then Heimdall Thor asks Heimdall to check in on Jane, and he's like, "She's looking for you." And then the movie's over.
It's a great way to end the movie. Yep.
And then we get a post-credit scene. Well, first of all, we get credits, which are cool, and then we get more credits, which are entirely overlaid by the song Walk by the Foo Fighters. That was a very questionable choice there.
I did not notice there's a skip 30 seconds ahead button on my Xbox.
I didn't do that. I was talking to my girlfriend while it was going on, because she was give me your thoughts on the movie and whatever, and I was just like, is this the Foo Fighters? And it is the Foo Fighters, and it's the whole song, and then there's still 2 minutes more credits after that, and I was like, this is a lot of credits. You could have just picked a longer song.
Could have. And then we get the post-credit scene, and we see really this post-credit scene is the key to understanding really what's going on in the Avengers,
which I never saw. Selvig is Loki's in his head.
Yeah, Loki has scouted out sort of Thor's band of Midgardian friends and seen which one would be the most valuable to him. And
so Selvig meets Nick Fury, and Nick Fury shows him the Tesseract.
It's very exciting. I thought it was really well done.
Yeah.
I thought the post-credit scene
I think it was the best one so far.
Yeah.
Probably probably one of the best ones total. I'm trying to think on all the other ones. Some of them are really bad.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some of them that have Howard the Duck in them.
And and there's one that just it was just Thanos being like, guess I'll just do it myself. I don't remember which movie that is, but that was an unsatisfying post-credit scene.
It's getting you ready for Infinity War.
So yeah, something like that. And then there was the one after Spider-Man, which was amazing.
The best.
Like the post-credit scene. I'm still laughing about it. It's been like 3 months. I'm still laughing about it.
So characters, there's a bunch of really, really good characters in this
And there's
movie.
a bunch of okay ones, too.
There's a bunch of okay ones. Like, there's a lot of really good character development, a lot of static character development, which I think is fine. They make like one decision throughout the whole movie. But I really...
Take it from the top. Like, what do you think of Thor as a character?
I think Thor is excellent. I actually think that... I don't think you can really compete with Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man.
No.
But I think... of the other people we can compare him to up to this point, I think that he's got a lot more depth than Bruce Banner does. I
think he's
and I think
a very well played character. He clearly struggles with decisions. He struggles with who he is as a person and what his direction is. And I think it's very good. He's a lot less black and white than like Steve comes in next movie.
Well, right, and I think that's kind of where they introduce him as this black and white character that's like, I am a warrior and I would like to destroy the frost giants. And then as the movies goes on, he sees the shades of gray. I think that's really good.
But at the same time, he's the same type of character as Captain America in that he's like definitely like a good guy.
Definitely a good guy. Yeah, like he can distinguish good and evil.
But like he is just a positive force. Whereas like that's what always kind of bothered me about Captain America is Captain America's a little bit too like yes man. He's a little bit too only positive, like only good. But I think Thor is a very good character in that like he has that ability to show the other side of things.
But I think that Thor is a very well developed character and he had a lot of potential going into later movies, but he isn't really able to compete with the personalities that you get with Iron Man and Captain America. And I think he's an underutilized character in later films.
I agree with that.
Because I think the way I described this movie in my personal review was that it's underrated. I think that the character development is extremely good. I think that the villain is extremely good. I think that the story is okay. But I think the acting is very good. I think it's cast extremely well.
I think the story is as good as it could have been. It needed the origin story more so than most of the other ones did.
Well, yeah, I definitely agree with that. But the way I saw it was this was like if you walked into Acting 101, this would be like an easy script to read. And they got people who are very good actors doing fundamental acting with an easy script.
Yeah. Because like
that, I think
there's a lot of all-stars in this cast.
There is. I mean, Stellan Skarsgård, Anthony Hopkins, Tom Hiddleston, Natalie Portman, Chris Hemsworth. Even Kat Dennings is very good. Clark Gregg making a name for himself. Idris Elba playing a minor character. So I think we've got a lot of really good characters in this movie, and I think that there was something to be done with. Like you were talking about that band of characters: Hogun, Fandral, Sif, and Frigga. I guess not Frigga.
It's Volstagg.
Volstagg. I actually thought while I was watching this that I would like to almost see like maybe not a Netflix series on those characters, but I wouldn't mind like a network television show on them, where you can kind of develop them a little bit more. They all seem kind of like B, C-list actors. I would be interested in sort of seeing their adventures through the Nine Realms and
what they do post.
They do, especially now that Thor is busy elsewhere. How they
cope without Thor.
Right, and letting those characters kind of develop a little bit because they were extremely one-dimensional. It was like that guy likes to eat, and that guy is super fancy, and that guy is Asian, and that is a female warrior.
Yeah, they weren't great, but everybody else in this movie, like Agent Coulson, really comes into his own as a character. I think. Yep. Honestly, I think Jane Foster's character is undeveloped.
Natalie Portman? I actually liked Jane
I liked her, but
character.
I think they could have gone a lot more with it.
I mean, they probably could have, but they, like you said, they needed to do a lot of backstory here. So I think Natalie Portman comes into this character and she looks and acts like, a serious scientist who puts her life into her work. And you can kind of just gather that, like, she can kind of pick up the slack where other characters need to be developed.
Right, and I don't by any means think anybody in this movie did a bad job as an actor.
I want to talk about this because I think I don't like Kat Dennings as an actress. Just
me either.
There's a lot of things she's in that I'm not a fan of. But I thought she played a very convincing, like, undergrad on a
I agree. I think she did really well with this. I think it's probably one of her better roles, especially since, like, what was that movie with Michael Cera? Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. That's the first place I ever saw her. It was really good.
She is a little bit typecast, but I think in this one she's able to kind of break that and really sell me at least on the the undergrad taking an internship that she's not particularly interested in.
Right, she's a political science major.
It's kind of like she's got kind of an outward personality, and I think she did an excellent job. Ethan, I'm going to read my paragraph review of this movie, and then I want to hear your thoughts on it, because when it was over, I had a bunch of thoughts, and I just wanted to share them. So, this movie is underrated. We have a good villain with characteristically unclear motives, and a character with strong development and with both static and dynamic support characters. I'm not crazy about the story that happens around them, but I really do think we were given excellent characters who interact well and have good chemistry. It's the scenes between the scenes that really excel in this one. I think in a first pass I wasn't crazy about it, but after the development of the rest of the series, it deserves more credit. We really get to interact a lot more with Coulson, and we're introduced to Hawkeye, though in a fairly negligible role. I think classic comic fans would appreciate this cameo much more than I do. We have some really high-caliber actors lending themselves to a beginner's script, and it really shows that this is the best version of that script that we could have gotten. Loki must be considered the main villain here, and he's perfect. The story of the prodigal son teaches them both a lesson that's completely necessary.
I think you hit the nail right on the head there. I think this is the most complete movie we've gotten in the series so far. I think...
I mean, it's tough to say that. Like, we are a few weeks removed from Iron Man 1.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that Iron Man 1 had its gaps. It had its holes. It had its, like, the story was great, but it still was missing some things. I think the story wasn't as great in this one, but it was a complete story.
So I've got an idea, and I think now is a good time to start it. I want to rank all of them, but I think the way we should do it is after each movie, say, well, it was better than this, but not
like
as
a
good
weekly
as this.
power ranking.
Like a weekly power ranking. So I think, coming into it, this to me is not as good as Iron Man. It's just not. The script isn't good enough. I agree with that. The characters aren't. The characters are excellent, but the script with the script they were given, I don't think they could have done better than Iron Man. So I would say Iron Man is my top, but then I would actually put this, and then Iron Man 2.
I'm gonna 100% agree with you right there. No disparagement whatsoever. Like that is the perfect list. I think that is about to change within days.
So you think that those four will get muddled up, or you think?
No, I think that we will have a new leader after next week.
I don't know. I'm curious to see.
I think it's probably been a while since you watched Captain America.
I know that I really like Red Skull.
I think
so. We'll see.
Captain America. Mostly, I'm happy that we're on the right track again with Marvel movies, because the last two have been subpar.
Yeah, and the number twos of the series, I think, with the exception of Thor, are always a little miss.
Yeah, Winter Soldier was okay. If I remember correctly. I haven't seen it since theaters.
No, I take that back. When you see Winter Soldier again, you're going to be like, nope, you're totally wrong about this number twos things. Iron Man's the one-off. Winter Soldier is
I haven't seen Winter Soldier since theaters. I remember it not really resonating with me, but I might be wrong. I don't know. We'll figure it out eventually.
I think you are.
It's been a while.
So yeah, that's kind of how I power rank this right now. This is number 2 in the series, which, 2 out of 4 isn't bad. Especially when I think number 1 will remain in the top 3 pretty much for the rest of the time.
We'll see. We'll see how we stack up on that. I don't know. We'll find out. I got a pretty idea of where I put some of them, but I've also got no idea on some of them.
Well, that's kind of why I want to do it.
That's what I'm saying.
So that it can be like...
who knows? Maybe I'll really like Guardians this time around.
The first one? So good. So good.
That's all I'm going to say right now.
But yeah, I think this movie's really good. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think that we got the best that we were going to get out of this movie. I think that it did need an extraordinary amount of backstory compared to the rest of them, in that like we had to bring a different plane of existence into it. And that creates a lot of hang-ups, but it also creates a lot of holes. But I think they did a very good job of sewing those holes together into a cohesive story, and it was really a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's an underrated movie. It's one that gets forgotten about a lot.
Do you think that, like, I know when I first saw it, I was like, Thor was okay. And now when I watched it today, I was like, I actually, I told you before we even started recording, I have considerably less notes on this one because I was enjoying it.
Yeah, it was definitely fun to watch. And it was, like I said, I'm glad we're back on the right track.
I think we stay on the right track for a little
while. For a good, I like the next 3. I know that you're not crazy about one of the next 3. It's Iron Man 3. I have lots of thoughts on Iron Man. So if you had to take a rating for Loki as a villain and put him on a scale of 1 being, our usual Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face, and our 10 being Heath Ledger, as the Joker, where would you put Loki?
I'd probably give Loki a pretty solid score. And I'm a big fan of, if you're going to do a 1 to 10, then you don't get decimal points. But I really think he's like an 8.6.
Yeah, I could agree with that, but at the same time, it's tough because I have trouble separating Loki in Thor from Loki in the overall series. So
that's kind of where I have.
I
some
feel like I might be
reservations,
overrating him because of his performance in the other movies.
Right, like I think when we watch Avengers, I'm gonna be like, oh, that's 8.9.
Yeah,
you know. But Loki in this movie, it's tough to separate, and I think that's the beauty of the cinematic universe. So that's why I'm gonna stick.
Yeah, I'll put him right at an 8. I could get with that.
Would you want to do a power ranking for Loki compared to the other villains we've seen so far?
Yeah, he's the top.
Yeah, totally
I'd
top.
put him, probably Whiplash, Obadiah Stane, and then Abomination, and then the U.S. government.
I think I would put Abomination higher on that list.
Abomination's let down by his movie. It just he couldn't recover.
But he's a good villain.
Like he is a good villain, but like a great diver making an okay dive is still an okay dive. You get what I'm saying? Like the degree of difficulty didn't give him enough point multipliers.
I guess I put an asterisk.
I don't know. I really like the villains in these movies so far. The villains are better than the movies generally. I liked Whiplash. I liked Obadiah Stane. I liked Abomination.
What about Justin Hammer?
He's part of Whiplash.
So I guess we just rank the
pair,
movies based on their villains.
Pair. Like, because you could technically call a lot of things villains. You could call the Frost Giants a villain, which they lose significantly,
and the Destroyer a villain, which he loses bad.
Yeah, so it's like it's villain by committee.
So I say Loki's top here. He's got to be. And then I think, I mean, we can go to more committee on this, between you and I. But I think like I'd put Whiplash. I don't know. I have a hard time with this because I really think that Abomination was a good villain. I think the U.S. government ruined it. So I think that committee drops him down lower. And then I think Obadiah was a good villain altogether. Actually, I just like Obadiah. So I'm gonna put Obadiah number two for me.
And then
probably Whiplash and unfortunately Abomination. I want to.
I do too. Emil Blonsky, great character. Only person with a name the whole movie. Yeah.
They said a lot.
Emil Blonsky.
Where's Blonsky?
Nobody else. That guy, Thunderbolt Ross, keeps calling him Blonsky.
Thunderbolt. So that's unfortunate that we have to give him such a low score, but I think he won't stay at the bottom.
No, God, no.
But I can't remember.
I mean, I got feelings on that one.
I'm not a huge fan. Well, but Guy Pearce is a great actor.
Yeah,
so
but know about that one. I don't know about the Mandarin. I really want to like that movie. I try so hard, but I don't know about the Mandarin. Good. I don't by any means think Loki will stay at the top necessarily.
I think he'll stay pretty close,
but I don't know about number one. We'll see. I got feelings about that too. There's some villains I like a lot.
I mean, Tony Stark.
Oh my God, villain. We're not putting Tony Stark on the villain list until he becomes a villain
in an upcoming movie.
No, he's not.
In a Captain America movie, the final battle is between Captain America.
The Captain America is the villain. Yes.
Nope. It's not.
Captain America is the villain. He is. Nope. He is.
Wrong.
We'll see. We're gonna fight on Civil War. I know this. I already know this. Anyway. Yeah. If you had to give this movie a breakfast food.
It needs to be something that's exceptionally well done, but isn't a fancy dish.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like a brioche French toast, I think is where I put this, from like an organic restaurant, like a farm to table brioche French toast.
I would say brioche French toast. Every time you use the word brioche is too fancy for Thor.
Okay, maybe not brioche French toast, but like when you go to a farm to table restaurant and they've got like a I can't say like eggs Benedict, like that's way too fancy.
Yeah.
I think like when you go to like a fancy farm to table joint and they've got like a house French toast dish. That's what I'm seeing. It's extremely well done. It's handcrafted, put together with amazing pieces. But at the end of the day, it's still French toast.
Yeah, I think that it's just a good plate of pancakes. Like, it's satisfying. It's nice. It's not the greatest thing ever, but it gets the job done. It gets you from point A to point B as far as your breakfast goes. It's satisfying.
It is fun.
It's enjoyable. Like, you enjoy eating those pancakes. You're not like, man, these are kind of dry. It's like they're buttered well.
I don't know. I think it's got more depth than you're giving it, because I think like the allegory of the prodigal son throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Jesus at all.
It's not just
in this.
No, but I mean it beats you.
Yeah, with the table flipping and
the one son leaves and he's the son that's loved, and when he comes back, his father still loves him, but the other son needs to learn a lesson about.
We didn't talk about that at all, which I think is probably okay.
Yeah, but I mean that's the movie. Like, I think it has a little bit more depth than a plate of pancakes.
Maybe I like pancakes. That's
why I'm reaching for.
I like pancakes.
Maybe you do like pancakes.
Like, I'm just saying, pancakes are good. It's a good plate of pancakes. Actually, I do have a waffle iron that I borrowed from Frank because he left it there. That makes Thor waffles. So I think it might just be a Thor waffle.
It might be a Thor waffle. Fun fact: I bought Frank that waffle iron for Christmas.
Yeah, and he forgot it when he moved out. And I have it. Yep.
Nice. Well, Frank, if you're listening,
Which he probably will. Let's be real
I hope
here.
he does.
If anybody I know is listening, it's Frank tomorrow. Anyway, if you're listening to us on October 5th, congratulations, our experiment worked. If you're listening to us on, October 12th, sorry. We tried.
We tried really hard. We lied on Instagram. You can follow us both on Instagram. Ethan's at Wow Now, but the O's are zeros. And I'm at AmeriCarlin. That's like America, but then RLIN.
If you want to reach out to us, get us on Twitter. We're also at Bacon and Eggs 12? 23. Bacon and Eggs 23. We gotta change that.
Nothing else is available, and it's a lost number.
Well,
so.
okay, fine. Bacon and Eggs 23 it is. Also, you can just hit us on our regular Twitters and Instagrams. They are the same as our Instagram handles, and you can get us at baconandeggsmedia@gmail.com if you want to direct any kind of wonderful sponsorship opportunities, or if you want to direct any kind of questions or comments or death threats, please send them to that email address. It's baconandeggsmedia@gmail.com.
Yeah, and anything we can do to improve to make this show better for
Please
you,
let us
just
know.
let us know.
I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear any kind of feedback or questions, or if you want us to do other kind of movies, you could tell us that too, because we've got some open things coming up.
We do have some open things coming up, as well as a blog coming soon, which will be for more secondary projects, and that will be on our website that is not yet launched, but
It'll be baconandeggs.something.
Baconandeggs.jazz.
Is .jazz an option? Anyway, yeah, thank you for listening to this episode. We had a great time making it for you, so I hope you had a great time listening to it. If it's not launch day, then we'll catch you in a few minutes. If it is launch day, we'll catch you in a week. You have fun.
Adios.
Bye. Listen, you know.
This drink, I like it.
I know, it's great, right?
Another!
Sorry.
This episode of Bacon and Eggs has been brought to you by our good friends over at Audible. Audible is a great resource for anybody who likes audiobooks or, like myself, likes books but isn't really good at reading them. They have a library of over 180,000 different books to choose from, and Audible is helping us offer you 1 month free. Get a month free trial where you get to download one book of your choice. As Ethan mentioned at the beginning of the episode, we recommend for this one going ahead and taking a look at Neil Gaiman's Norse mythology. Free on us and a month trial for the service. Just go to audibletrial.com/eggs and get your free month started today. That's audibletrial.com/EGGS. Thank you.